We have an exclusive for you. Raheem Kassam joins us. He's co-host of The War Room, editor-in-chief of the National Pulse. Raheem, you're breaking some news with us right now. What do you got?
That's right, Eric. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon. It means a lot, certainly. I think to me, I care immensely about this issue, and I think it'll mean a lot to people around the world as well, especially the Americans who are currently stuck in Afghanistan. The National Pulse, we are reporting this afternoon that Joe Biden's State Department actively quashed a program that was started under President Donald J. Trump that was meant to enable the U.S. government to extract people swiftly and safely from crisis zones around the world, including places like Afghanistan. This program was started, it's called the CCR. It stands for Contingency and Crisis Response. It was started in October of last year with a very, very specific purpose of helping extract Americans from crisis zones. That includes ordinary citizens, and it includes diplomats, it includes members of the U.S. Government in many different shapes and forms. The Biden administration began to squash this plan in February. We have published documentation that proves it this afternoon. It's up on the nationalpulse.com. It was finalized on June the 11th of this year that they were pausing this program just months before the Taliban retook Afghanistan and Kabul.
So let's talk about that, Raheem, a little bit. So I pointed out in the monologue that it's very likely, well reported, not just one or two sources, well reported that Joe Biden ignored the recommendations from Lloyd Austin, his Secretary of Defense, and from Mark Milley, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He ignored them and decided to declare, we're gone, date certain, we're moving out, before our people were gone, before our embassy was locked down, before Bagram Air Force Base was locked down, and before we removed our equipment. Is he incompetent? Has he been feebled by his age or whatever's going on?
Well, you know, Eric, it pains me to say this, but I think I can say it with some level of dispassion. I'm not an American citizen. I'm a news reporter, and I do the news, and I analyze what's going on in the United States and its foreign policy. And it seems to me that there is something more to it than just incompetence here. This was a program that was well established. In fact, it was actually under the Obama administration that they set up this first program called OpMed. What the Trump administration attempted to do in October was give more focus to extracting Americans from crisis situations. And whether it's the Afghanistan withdrawal writ large, as you say, or whether it's this specifically, what it seems like to me is that there is a cadre of national security people around President Biden who not only just are actively incompetent, but actually may not care in the round about American citizens, American foreign policy. These are people like Jake Sullivan. Yeah. Jake Sullivan, very close to the Communist Party.
I don't want to interrupt you because I only have about a minute and a half or so. Raheem, you put out some interesting stuff today about Jake Sullivan. He's the National Security Advisor, very, very important advisor to President Biden on things of national security, war, et cetera. What are you hearing? What do you know? I mean, there were some things that sounded like really scary to me with China, and maybe even going back to the Obama years.
There is a plethora of people around Joe Biden, including Jake Sullivan, who have talked up the Chinese Communist Party and China's goals all around the world. Jake Sullivan has worked with think tanks in the United States that are partnered with Chinese Communist Party groups. This is all public information. It's out there to see. We've been reporting on this for about a year now, and it seems that those chickens are finally coming home to roost. Those investments that Chinese Communist Party propaganda operations put into the United States, and people like Jake Sullivan are actually yielding results for them right now. I believe, of course, this situation in Afghanistan massively helps the Chinese Communist Party, and it seems to me that people like Jake Sullivan have been only too happy to help them.
All right, Raheem, we're going to leave it there. Thank you for being here. Boy, we got State Department, we got the National Security Advisor, we got the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Defense Department. You know, they start to add up. You need 8 cabinet secretaries and vice president. I don't know. It sounded like crazy talk a couple months ago, and all of a sudden sounds possible. All right, thank you very much, Raheem, for joining us.
Thank you.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.